Hi everyone, my name is Anubhav.
And hi, this is Bharat here.
We are cloud solution architects at Microsoft. Um, while we know that the topic of agentic solution is evolving at a rapid pace, we decided to come up with a series of snackable videos to keep up with this and thought of starting with Copilot agents. The whole idea is to keep this series fairly technical and hands-on as much as possible. So the agenda for today is so we are going to cover Copilot agents, like, what they are, then types of agents that we have within Copilot, and then when to use which Copilot agent. All right, so now let's start off with what are Copilot agents. Before jumping into Copilot agents, I wanted to touch base on what is Microsoft 365 Copilot. I know everybody is aware of it, but it's just an AI-powered productivity tool that keeps users in the flow of their work across Microsoft 365 applications like Outlook, Teams, and Word, and it grounds its data from Microsoft Graph. So although Copilot offers powerful capabilities, users might need to integrate additional knowledge, data sources, or applications into Copilot to meet specific needs. And this is what basically leads to the Copilot agents. So if I have to say, the Copilot agents are specialized assistants, which are focused on specific subject and powered by organizational knowledge with actions to automate business processes. So, I mean, in generic terms, if I have to say, it's like, Copilot has got a lot of information. So let's say, like I said, right, it is grounded to all our organizational data. So let's say, for example, I wanted to ask about leave policy. Okay. Although Copilot has information related to all the SharePoint sites and all my documents, which is available to it, I want it to give me information only from specific SharePoint site. So I can just, create agents and tell it that, okay, I can declare like the knowledge sources as those particular sites and inform it to provide me information from only these places and nothing else. And not just that. I mean, think of it this way. If I want, maybe, or maybe based on the use cases, if I wanted to perform certain actions like, what, I want to book a time off. Okay. So I want to call certain actions. So obviously, it could be either residing in my own data source, or maybe it might be that I'm using some external sources. It can perform these actions, it can call these actions and perform the tasks for me. So now, if I have to go about it, okay, in general, we say that there are two types of Copilot agents. One is declarative, and the another one is custom engine agents. So declarative agent is something that allows you to configure Copilot based on specific scenario, but like the name says, declarative, right? So you write custom instructions, you provide it with the links to knowledge sources, as well as certain actions to automate business processes. So these are all declarative, right? But the moment we go ahead and decide to build something for advanced scenarios, that's where we jump into the custom engine. So wherein you can have your own orchestration, or if you want, you can bring in your own language models and not run on the one which is provided by Copilot. Also, if you look at this slide, the third point we have is SharePoint agent. And this is something that goes, I mean, we do not say that, okay, it is part of declarative or SharePoint or custom engine, but SharePoint agent is something that basically allows you to, ground itself only to specific folder or repository, document repository within a specific site, so that it can just, help you answer queries directly from within it. All right. So now that we went through in a very basic way what all these agents are, so I think, Bharat, it's time. Let's look into the details of these agents and let's look into it. So why don't you start off with it and we can see how it is.
Sure, sure. So, okay, I have just switched the order in which Anubhav you just shared the agents. So I've done that intentionally to sort it in the order of the complexity. So the SharePoint agents are the simplest form of agents that are possible. So they are basically agents that would just point to a document repository within a SharePoint site, and the agent would have the knowledge only pertaining to that agent, to that particular SharePoint site. And these agents can also be shared in a Teams chat, etc. So I will just maybe show how it is done in real life, so that yeah, the folks can get an idea on what is a SharePoint agent. So let me just quickly jump onto my browser here, where I have, okay, so this is a SharePoint site that I have. So where you can see there are a couple of folders that have a few documents, etc. So now if I have a need to create an agent that is going to get me information that is only from the documents that exist in this particular folder. So in this case, maybe it becomes like an HR policy agent or something like that. So maybe
Mm.
so you can just look at the create an agent on the top menu, that option that's available to me.
Yeah.
Clicking on this, just and as you can see, it's just a simple agent that's already gotten created here. Okay, I have an option over here to say either open the agent directly or edit. So
Mm.
if I want, I can just maybe edit certain properties. Where, as you can see, the concepts are very similar across the different type of agents. You give the name and the description, you point it to the sources that you want, and you just give it some starter prompts and instructions and on how you want it to behave. So
Mm.
that's all that a SharePoint agent will do. So in this case, if I can just go ahead and save, or even before saving, I can test it out as well if I want, basis the prompts that it has already assigned over. If I'm not happy, I can change them as well, or whatever.
The initial
Now,
prompts, basically.
yes, these are initial prompts. I can always configure them and change them to whatever I feel like. Now, saving this creates a .agent file within the same folder that I have created, that I created this document here. So as you can see, the HR policy docs agent got created, and
Mm.
I can just go ahead and click on this agent, and I can start checking uh, what to do, like different tasks that are possible with this particular agent that has got created. So as you can see, I just created one of those prompts that are available, and it has just gone scanned through all the documents, and I just told it, hey, give me and create an FAQ for me on these resources, and it's created something for me. So yes, while this is not exactly as relevant, as a user I may be asking for more detailed information about the HR policies, etc., but I guess you can understand, the essence of what I'm trying to explain over here.
So I think, Bharat, if I have to say, I think sometimes we have seen scenarios where users are limited to specific SharePoint sites, and so they can directly visit these SharePoint sites, or like you said, right, you are gonna show us how you share it, so we can directly access them and query directly, and not need to visit these sites on our own.
Mm. A good example, Anubhav, I can think of is a typical project team where like they are working on documents, various documents for a particular project, and they have it
Mm.
all in the form of a repository. And
Yep.
instead of users or the team members having to go through scanning different documents to figure out where I can find some information that is common in multiple documents, maybe you can make use of this agent and just ask this agent, hey, can you get me information pertaining to this topic from the repository. So it would look into all the documents that are available that it has access to, and it will bring out all the information that is there. Maybe it's a common clause, that you want to use for your future project SOP or something like that.
Yep. I mean, anyways, we can share, we can save any type of document. So it could be
Eh,
RFP, SOW, or whatever it is. I mean,
exactly, exactly.
it'll be a much better search engine. I think so.
Yes,
So,
yes. So while we've created this agent in just like a couple of clicks, we've not customized it. Yes, that is, there is always room for customizing and improving. One important point to note is this can be quickly shared as a link in Teams as well.
yeah.
So if I were to just click on this from under the share icon that I had, if I were to click on the copy link, I can just then go ahead into my chat and say, for example, I have a common chat over here. Uh, Paste the agent. So with with that, I just pasted that link, and now you'll see that it's asking me if I want to add this particular agent to this chat. Now, what will happen is that Microsoft always the policies for sharing are always respected. As in, if there is any user who does not have access to that particular SharePoint location, the same sharing access, basically will continue. So they would still not be able to access those source resources, but for users who have access, they can go ahead and always query down with the agent. So as you can see, it's already come up with, with that welcome message, with those same starter prompts that we saw that came up earlier with
I, I
SharePoint.
think I think for SharePoint agents we have a maximum of 3 starter prompts,
Yes, so
right?
here it's the limited it's limited to only 3 prompts.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the most basic, as you can see, completely no code form of creating an agent. Let's just switch on to the next one. So when we now talk about from progressing from SharePoint agents, the next set of agents are the declarative agents. So within the declarative agents, we basically have uh, multiple ways of building these agents. So the simplest form again of building a declarative agent, as you may have already seen, would be from within your M365 Copilot chat or from within Teams. So where you have this embedded Copilot Studio builder that allows you to create an agent. Or you also have these other two options, that's using the Copilot Studio, which is a low code option, and finally the VS Code using the Teams toolkit, which is the pro code option. But these agents can be run within Teams or Microsoft 365 Copilot only. So
Yes.
let's start with the first one, which is building the declarative agent using Microsoft 365 Copilot or with Teams. So if I go back to my browser, let me just take you over here to the Copilot chat. So as you can see on the right, there are these two options: get agents or create an agent. So if I were to click on create an agent, the pop-up that comes up, this is the Copilot Studio agent builder interface that I was talking about, where using either the natural language approach, or using or directly configuring, if you already have clarity on what the description, what the instructions, etc. should be for this agent, you can go ahead and create an agent. So if I were to just like, as you can see over here, it says, help me, I'm here to help build an agent. If I were to say that, okay, I want to build an agent that can answer queries. So I'm just trying to continue on the same example that we had
Yep.
earlier.
That.
So you'll see that the agent will start building, working in the background, and it's already started giving me some prompts, etc. While it does not know anything much, because we have not configured any knowledge sources or whatever. So at this point, it's asking me, like, hey, is HR assistant a good option for a name? If I say yes, let's go ahead. It will continue to ask for all the other details that are needed for it to form this agent. So for example, what are the knowledge sources, or what should be the persona that this agent should have, how should it connect with people, whether it should have a professional approach or a casual approach, etc. It will it will take all those as inputs and configure this agent for us.
Can
So
we?
as
I
you can
think.
see,
I'm
yep.
sorry. So because just wanted to bring this. I think like how in SharePoint agents, what we had is 3 starter prompts. Now we see that there are 6 starter prompts, and it's asking more questions because it is trying to create a persona, like you said, right? So I believe, can we keep on giving more information to it, or I think we can do at the end, we can even configure it directly as well.
Yes, even at this point, if you want, if you believe, like this is not an approach that we want to take, we can always jump into the configure bit. As you can
Hmm.
see, it's already started populating stuff, in the background. So we
Yeah.
can tune it the way we want. We've not yet added any knowledge sources, as you can see. Web search is intentionally turned off. We can turn it on if there is a need, or if there is any other connectors or knowledge sources that we want to add. And the starter prompts, what you see over here, are all already populated over here. We can customize, remove, add, the ones that we want, depending upon our requirement.
Yeah.
Um, so as you can see over here, now it's asking me, what should it avoid discussing or handling, etc. So we can get into all kind of details. So if I at this point say, okay, this is these details are maybe not as relevant, I can go ahead and say, okay, let me jump into the configure part and do configure the rest of the agent on my own. I can just go get into the browse and say, like, okay, I want to look at different SharePoint options that are existing. I want to point it to maybe the same knowledge base that we pointed it to earlier. So let me just, okay. So as you can see now, it's the same folder. So I can either do this or select all of them, or I can just select the site, uh, and okay. So it's at this point, it's only giving me an option to select all the files over here. So I can just select all of them, and as you'll see that once it runs it in the background, it would add all the documents, and the agent will get created once I click on the create button, and it will have access to the same 6 documents that we created by using the SharePoint agent. But the difference being that it can do some more stuff. It's got a different personality, and we can point it to maybe some other knowledge sources as well, which we could not in the case of SharePoint agent.
And we have other options as well, like the code interpreter and the image generator also. I mean, if
Yes.
you scroll above, so we have those things also
Yeah. Yep.
as the
Another
default.
big advantage with these agents would be like, while it's not available currently, would be the actions. So again, that's something that's not available in the SharePoint agents, but within the agents that you create from your studio builder, you'll be able to add actions as well. So not only query and receive information, you can as well perform some actions on like, say for example, apply leave on my behalf or whatever, or maybe update a particular time to be logged, etc., and things like that.
Yeah, so actions could be like, any type of API call or anything, and that's so it
Yeah.
can directly on your behalf can send the request and submit. Let's say you said, okay, hey, I want to book time off for like from this date to this date, so it's gonna go ahead and make an API call on your behalf because Copilot already is aware of your information, so it will utilize those things and perform
Mm.
the
Yeah.
call.
So I'm just in the background. I've just gone ahead and created the agent. As you can see, it's created the agent already. So if I click on go to agent, now this agent should pop up over here in this list. Yeah, as you can see, the HR
Yeah.
assistant, and I can start, querying on the information, and it will just go and bring up all the like information on the queries that I've raised, basis the documents and nothing else. So it's also going to tell me, like, where did it find information about these answers, responses that it has got. So you can see the documents are exactly the same as what were there in that SharePoint location.
And this agent is available only to you.
At this point, it is only available to me. Yes,
Yes.
but if I were to go to click on say create an agent again, at the
Mm.
top you can see under my agents you have this drop down over here that says my agent. If I click on it, is where I'll find all the other agents that I have created.
Mm.
So say for this chat assistant is the one that we just created. So I'm back over here. I can go ahead and customize this agent to suit my needs and update it. And once I am done with my updation, I already always have this option to share it with the others in the
Mm.
organization. And again, like if I say anyone in the organization, etc., it will go to the admin for their approval and then become available for the other users in the organization.
Okay.
So at this point, as you can see, it's available only to me. Yeah.
Mm.
So that is how you can go and create an agent using the Studio Agent Builder from within Microsoft 365 Copilot. The experience is exactly the same from within Teams as well. So as you can see, the same create an agent option is available within Copilot in Teams, and you can see Copilot Studio again comes up over here, the Studio Agent Builder, where you can create, and using the same experience create an agent over here as well. So the
And
experience is exactly the same.
And if you want to call, I mean, let's say when you are in Copilot mode, I mean, you can also directly mention the agent name and you can
Oh yeah.
make a call to it. So the
Yes.
the the reason I was bringing this up is because folks, the all the agents, the declarative agent specifically, is something which is running on top of the orchestrator and the same model which is being used by Copilot. So Copilot is, I mean, basically, I think it's suffice to say that the declarative agents are running on top of the Copilot. I mean, the same engine. So that's why Copilot is able to make a call directly to it.
Yeah. So the two experience, like you just like rightly pointed out, either I click on HR assistant, so this is like my dedicated experience that I have to converse with the agent only, or if I were in the Copilot view, I can still mention and bring up all the agents that I have access to, and then again, ask the information that I want from the agent. Yeah.
Exactly. So you can see, like, once you selected, I have got chatting with HR assistant. Yeah. All right.
Cool. With that, let me just go back to the slide once again. Uh, okay, so let's look at the other two flavors of declarative agents that we have. So back on the slide deck, so we just covered the how you can build an agent using M365 Copilot or from within Teams using the embedded Copilot Studio Builder. Let's look at the Copilot Studio option, which is like your low code and no code option that's available to again build a declarative agent.
Yeah.
Let me just jump back onto my browser. Uh, I have my Copilot Studio open over here. If I were to go back to home, yeah. So if you were to open your Copilot Studio, I'm assuming this is the kind of view that you would have as well. So if you click on agents from the left rail here,
Just
it
to interrupt, so basically the
Mhm.
URL for your Copilot Studio is the same, copilotstudio.microsoft.com.
Yes, yeah, it is
Okay.
copilotstudio@microsoft.com. Yeah. On clicking on agents, you will get an option over here that says add a new agent.
Hmm.
But this is actually not the option to create a declarative agent using Copilot Studio. This will create a custom engine agent. That is, it will use its own orchestrator and LLM. But we are looking at building a declarative agent
Declarative
from
agent.
within the Copilot Studio. For that, we need to click on Copilot for Microsoft 365 that we can see over here within the list
Yeah.
of the different agents that are available. So clicking on Copilot for Microsoft 365 will give us this view where now I can see the various agents that I have and whatever actions that are available as well. So clicking on an add over here takes us to building a declarative agent via the Copilot Studio.
So
So this is
it's
something.
a similar basis how we saw in Teams. It's going to ask us various kinds of questions.
Yes, the natural language option exists over here as well. Or if you want, like we saw within the Studio Builder, we can just say, okay, skip to configure and say, okay, we can do it on our own.
Yeah.
But this has been slightly confusing for some folks, as in what I just clarified, as in that you need to click on Copilot for Microsoft 65 to create a declarative agent. Not everyone, like there were a few folks whom I had interacted with who had clicked on the first new agent option that they got. So that's something that we need to keep in mind.
Yeah.
So the experience is again the same. You have the natural language conversational view if you want to build the agent, or you can click on skip to configure. Now within the skip to configure, again, you can give the entire like describe your agent. You can provide the instructions that you want this agent to perform. Basically the steps remain the same, the starter prompts that you have, and maybe whatever knowledge sources that you want this agent to get access to.
Hmm.
uh, one big difference here, though, is that once you created this agent using the Copilot Studio, you will have an option to add actions as well. So,
Yeah.
if I were
I
to
believe actions was disabled there in the Teams one, right? So
yes, so that
exactly.
within Teams or within Microsoft 365 Copilot, you currently cannot add actions, but over here, once you are in the Copilot Studio, you have the option to add actions as well once you created the agent.
Hmm.
So if I were to just maybe I'll just cancel creating a new agent over here because I already have a few agents that I'd created.
Yeah. No worries.
So I have created an agent over here that says Copilot Tech Criteria agent. So let me just show how this agent looks. So I've just followed the same steps, so that's the reason I'm not creating another one. So it's, as you can see, I've given it a description. I've provided whatever instructions. I've given it a knowledge source, as in, look into this particular folder within SharePoint and get me information. And like I've disabled the web browsing. I've not added any starter prompts at the moment, but as you can see now, the actions option starts coming
Yes.
up. So this is where I can click on the add action option and select from all the various connectors that are available within the Power Platform. I think we have some 1300 plus of them.
Can you
So whatever.
can
Yep,
you
sorry,
click
go ahead.
on library?
Yeah,
So
no,
this
that's
is the one which is the okay. So connectors and everything is available over here. All right.
yeah. So if I were to just search for various connectors that are available, like it could be your service now, or this is the all the service now connectors, or if you want any, I think. Uh, Yep, so
Hmm.
Azure DevOps, if you want to point to, all of them, all the connectors that are available, accessible via the Power Platform, are all available over here. I think even SAP connectors are also available that one can, that one can use to
Hmm.
connect.
So basically, it's like these are various providers, right? So providers basically they create various connectors and provide us with. So those are available to you directly, and you can configure them based on your needs.
Yes. So what can be done then is that you could have instructions that you could provide to your agent to say that uh, you can be look for information that the user has entered in the knowledge sources that are configured. But if the user is looking to provide any feedback, then send gather relevant information or the inputs from the user and send a mail using an action that is configured.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So basically, like for example, we were talking about the scenario earlier. Like I'm searching for vacation, or maybe I'm trying to see. I want to, log some vacation time or something like that, so it can actually perform all these actions on behalf of me.
Yes. So let me just try to check once. From Microsoft 365.
The James Bond of agents.
So I was actually looking for an agent that would have some actions already configured. But Anubhav, I guess we are planning to
Yeah,
cover this in detail in a separate snackable video.
yeah,
So maybe we will leave it for one of the future episodes. Uh,
yes,
l- but then, as I mentioned, the steps are pretty similar. Anybody can just go ahead, follow these instructions, and create an agent. Uh,
definitely.
Let me jump back into the deck. The last option on declarative agents is using the Visual Studio Code option. Within Visual Studio Code, yes, we need the Teams toolkit to be installed. Let me take you there. Let me just quickly bring up my Visual Studio Code as well.
All right. So, folks, basically, it's the same extension that we used earlier when we were creating the applications for Teams. I mean, a couple of years back, we started with apps running on Teams, and along with it, even message extensions and a whole plethora of stuff. So, it's the same Teams Toolkit extension, which is available in the Visual Studio Code marketplace. So, you can install this and you can go ahead and start building it. Um, uh,
So
yeah.
I
So,
just want to, for those of you who have not tried it, so this is the Teams toolkit, which has been enhanced to be able to build to help build declarative agents as well. So what this Teams toolkit does is basically provide the necessary scaffolding for you to be able to build your declarative agent quickly, so that you can then go ahead and customize it to suit your needs.
and I think, Bharat, we have kept it in the pre-release version, right? I mean, this whole reason for
Yeah.
keeping in pre-release is pre-release version keeps on updating the various opportunities that it can provide you. So I
It's
don't mind
updated more
keeping.
often.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I think the last updated one is what, 1st April, if I'm not wrong.
yeah, yep.
Okay, so
So,
okay.
so in case you are looking for something that's very stable, please switch. But if you're okay to experiment
Yeah,
with the features, yeah, you can always be on the pre-release version.
yeah,
So let me jump into the Teams toolkit. So once installed, you would have it on your left rail. Um, so now, just once we have it up and running, the first thing that we need to do is ensure that we have logged in to our demo tenant, because that's where we will be provisioning the agent. So once that
yeah.
configuration is in place, then it's just a breeze to just go through, follow the steps, and create an agent.
So, I mean, the reason we are saying that logging into the demo tenant and all is because I'm not sure whether your enterprise tenant has or the admin has provided you rights to deploy an agent, right? And the other thing is, this whole reason is we always say is use a demo tenant. Okay, so
While you're developing. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, because you do not want to annoy your admin by submitting applications behind the scenes. So, and also, Bharat, before we jump into creating this, can you click on the view samples so we
Sure.
can just give a brief of so. Folks, this Teams toolkit provides you with a whole bunch of samples. As you can see, you have got apps, you can have bots, you can have message extensions, and a whole lot of stuff. So if you're looking for building even something beyond these, you can even visit those places as well. All right, I think to start off with, we create with a new app.
Yeah. So once we click on create a new app, as Anubhav mentioned, along with the options that already existed in within the Teams toolkit, now you can also see two new options. That's the declarative agent and the custom engine agent. Let's click on declarative agent. So once we clicked on declarative agent, the we are presented two options. That's either saying either no action, that means that this agent will not have any action. It's only going to be getting information from different sources, or if you believe that you want it to perform an action, that is could be getting real-time information from a source, or could be performing an update or whatever it is, you can select add an action. Now
Yeah,
once
so
you've
no
done that,
action is more like creating a declarative
a
agent from nothing.
retrieval, yeah, or a SharePoint agent or something like
Yeah,
that, yeah, a
yeah.
basic agent. Now that we've selected add an action, it's going to ask us, like, do you want to start with a new API, or do you have an open API description, or do you want to get it imported from an existing
Yeah.
action?
So
So
I think the start a new API basically provides you with the Azure function, but keep in mind that it's going to run locally, right?
yes, till
So
it's deployed,
yeah,
yes.
it's not like when you click on it, it's going to take you to Azure and ask you,
Mhm.
your Azure subscription and all, but it runs directly locally.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So let's if you were to try the open API description, so basically that's the only format that is supported currently. So you need the message details to be available within an open API format only for the declarative agent to be able to identify. So what happens if I were to select as the OpenAPI description? It will is going to ask me, do you want to look up this file online, or do you have it locally? So if I were to just say choose browse and say local, and select one of the OpenAPI files that I had, as you can see, it's actually parsed through the JSON file that I shared, and it's going to get me all the functions that it could find within that file. So some things to keep in mind. Okay, one thing to keep in mind here is that the file can be either in a YAML or JSON format.
Yeah.
So both formats are supported. These are basically both are standard formats in which you'd find the function, the OpenAPI description files generally. So both are supported, and the file size as of today is limited to 102 kilobytes. So we're hoping that it will be increased soon. So which means that you cannot have too many functions crammed within the same OpenAPI specification file.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I think so. Basically, these OpenAPI specification files are something which is provided by the provider, or yeah,
yeah,
I mean to say like the API where exactly they have already given you all the definitions and everything that is available. Like people who have worked with Swagger and all, even there also you can generate these schemas. So, or I mean, the dev portals of, maybe, let's say, for example, you're using ServiceNow, so they will provide you, or in our case, I think we are using OpenMeteor, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we just thought that, okay, rather than going to AccuWeather or weather.com, signing up and then getting these, it's much easier to test out here. So, okay, so Bharat, so now we can see that it already showcases us with get. So basically that denotes the get method that it could figure out, right?
Yes. So if there were more functions that it would have parsed and identified, it would have listed it all over here. And we had the option of selecting, one or more of them that we want our agent to be able to accessing and performing any actions. So in this case, I'm just going to say okay by selecting that particular action that I wanted. And it's going to ask me which folder do you want me to create this agent. Let me just select the default folder and say that okay, this is going, it's asking me for a name. I'll give it a name, weather agent, and enter. That's it. So
Yeah.
what's happening now in the background is that it's creating the entire scaffolding that is required, all the files that are required to basically run this declarative agent. So, and it's a
Right.
very small, footprint over here, as you can see. You're seeing
Uh,
something.
yeah, yeah. So keep in mind, people, like when you create, it opens up the project in a different Visual Studio instance. I mean, VS Code instance, okay? Because I have had in the past people asking me, the
Followed all the steps, but I don't see it.
yeah, because the Teams Toolkit extension doesn't get initialized unless until that project, which is basically set for Teams Toolkit, it's not recognizing, and so it'll just give you a, again, the same thing: create a new agent or something, create a new app. So
So quick 1 minute explainer while we will walk you through a good working example in one of the future videos. But most of the information that you want, or maybe all of it, exists within this app package folder in this declarative agent. The first one being the manifest.json, where we are mentioned that this particular solution is a declarative agent. As you can see over here, we mentioned that it's a Copilot agent with an idea of a declarative agent, and the details for this agent will be available within this declarative agent.json. Now this file also exists within the same folder, and within the folder, as you can see over here, within this file, most of the information about this agent is already available. We can always customize the way we want it to, so providing a more detailed description, because that's what Copilot likes. So the more description that we provide, the more better it is able to understand and interpret and perform more accurately, be it a description about the agent, description about actions, or whatever.
it's like
So
how when we are creating the declarative agent, we saw, right? It kept on asking more and more question, like what you want to give,
yeah.
what you don't want to answer. I mean, everything you have to provide it in there. So
Yes. So key information that's required for a declarative agent, the most important information will be available within this file. So as you can see, the name, description, instructions are pointed to another file from here. The instruction that this agent should use, the persona that it should have, instruction that it should follow. If there are any actions, where are the actions? And if there are any conversation starters, we can keep on adding. We can have again 6 of them over here. There's just one as a default that's been added. Now, if I look into the other 2 files that are pointed over here, the instruction.txt, you can see is just a generic instruction that it has at the moment. We can go ahead and customize it. That's the purpose of the Teams Toolkit. It gives you the basic setup, and then you go ahead and customize it the way you want. And the other file is the AI plugin.json. So this is the actions file. So this is where all the functions that the agent will have access to are mentioned. So if you recollect, that get forecast was the
the get method.
function that it had, the get method
Yeah.
that it came up with. So it's gone ahead and created this again for us. We didn't have to, we not touch this, not entered anyone a single line of code yet. Now what happens is that once the definition of the functions are mentioned, there is a runtime section as well over here within the actions, and this is where it is able to it's possible to configure what is the kind of authorization that you want. So in this case, we are basically not having any authorization in place. We just invoking, calling the function, and it will go ahead and trigger the API call. But as you know, most solutions require some authorization, maybe an open API, maybe an OAuth or whatever.
Yeah.
So such configuration will have to be done on the service provider side of on the server side, and then we would also need to store the ID and the secret, etc., over in the Teams developer as well. So I'll walk you through when in one of those future videos when we actually
Yeah.
build a proper declarative agent.
This is just an
Last,
example, a sample one,
exactly. Yeah, we
basically.
just walking through.
I
Yeah.
mean, keep tuned with us because we are gonna bring in a whole bunch of
Yes,
different experiences.
detailed videos. So the last one, is the actual the OpenAPI.yaml file. This was the file that I had pointed it to. So as you can see, it's pointing it to an API specification file folder which exists over here.
So, Bharat,
This is
before we go into that, I think can you go back to that plugin file?
uh
So basically, if I don't define the methods above, I mean, sorry, methods in the runtimes, it's gonna take all the available methods which is present to it, right? All the functions.
the you're talking referring to the run for functions here.
Run for
Yep.
functions. Yes, yes,
So
yes.
so so if the YAML has maybe say 10 functions, but
Mm.
if in the run for functions, if you just mentioned three, the declarative agent is only going to access those three.
Yes.
So in this case, yes, in this case, for example, if the YAML file had 10 functions, and as you can see, there's just one get forecast. So this declarative agent has access to only the get forecast. It's not going to look into any other functions that exist in this OpenAPI specification file.
Got it. Got it. Got it.
And this acts like an ID. So this get forecast within this runtimes run for functions section is what it will look into within the YAML file as well. So if I were to take you to this YAML file, you will see that there will be a section
Yeah,
that says
I have a feeling that it has put the operation ID at the end of the page.
yeah, you're right. So as you
Yeah.
can see over here, so this
Yeah.
is
So
again something
we
that
have faced this
happens.
issue.
So yeah, so the operation ID is where it tries to map the function. So the value for this operation ID is what needs to be set with the run for functions value over here as well. So with that, you're able to just, if I were to just go to my Teams toolkit and click on provision, I will be able to get deploy this agent straight off. So as you can see, I've not touched any code. I've just used that one OpenAPI specification file. At this point, yes, it is in a crude form because there is a lot of room for customization, right from the startup prompts to the instructions, etc. But we can quickly provision it and check it out on Teams to see if it is able to get us some information. So as you can see, it's already done, provisioned. So if I were to jump back into Teams, okay. So now let me refresh my browser, and I think the declarative agent should start showing up on the right trail within Copilot. So the agent that we created was, yeah. So as you can see over here, whether agent one was the name of the agent that we had created. So do note that the name of the agent, the icon, etc., and also the startup prompts are all configurable. So as you know from the various files that I just walked you through. Now let's just try some one of the startup prompts. Let's see, like how we can get information uh, using the API call. So I am going to ask it to get information for weather forecast for Seattle. So now what's going to happen is that because this is the first time that this agent has been executed, agent has run, and because it is found that it needs to make a function call, it's asking for permission over here. Whether I want to go ahead and whether to execute this agent. Also, if you can see over here, it's saying this is the information that it's going to pass to the function as parameters. I had given Seattle as the city for which I wanted the weather forecast, but Copilot internally identified and interpreted, understood that the parameters in the function actually are latitude and longitude. So latitude and longitude for the city, so it which it already is aware of. So it has passed the same as parameters to this function. So if I were to choose allow once or always allow, depending upon my choice, it's going to go ahead and execute this function and get me the information.
Looks like it's getting stuck.
Okay, now there seems to be an issue where it's saying it's a bad request. Let me just try to refresh the browser once again, maybe because it's just run the first time.
Well, issue happens.
And yeah, it's a demo that we made.
I
So
mean, if you don't encounter an issue or a error in the demo, then it's not a demo anymore.
yes, so let me try to run it again. And with my fingers crossed, hope that it works this time. No.
Oh, well.
Ah,
I have a feeling that the API is somehow like not responding back properly.
it says data corrupted at path.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so maybe I think it's because of the API. Maybe let's try to search for some other city.
Okay, let me try. Let me just do give it one last refresh.
Yeah.
Maybe we ask for information weather forecast for, let's see if it likes Singapore.
Yeah. So, but at least you guys saw, right? I mean, when it runs into an error, we were able to get that particular information as well. Oh
Ah,
yeah.
there it goes.
Wait, I think you have asked directly to Copilot and not to the weather agent.
Oh yes.
All
Okay,
right.
I'm back. I'm back over here.
That's what I was thinking. Why is weather agent one suggesting that this is
Exactly. I was
actually
also wondering
weather?
what happened. Why did those other sites start popping up? Okay,
All right.
awesome. And now it works. So as you can see, I'm within the weather agent, and it has gotten me information for Singapore. Maybe there was an issue on the server side where it was not able to get me a response for the call that I made.
Mhm.
And the information that it would have received, Copilot has again formatted it in a more user friendly format, and it has shared it as a response with us along with the adaptive card format. Now, one last point, some of you who have not tried this or seen this in the past will be wondering, where did I get this debug info from? So that's basically a command that you can give that says developer on, and with that, the as you can see over here, it's a Copilot enters into developer mode, which means that it will share additional information
Mhm.
for every prompt that you run and every request that gets made. So in this case, in this agent debug info, you'll find all relevant information like list of functions that it matched the function that it finally selected to execute, which is over here. Because we just have one function, it's showing up one. Otherwise, if there were five functions, it would have said, like, okay, I found these five functions, out of which this is a one function, the get forecast that I have selected, what is the request that I made, and what is the response that I got. All the
Yeah, and
information that you
and
want to be available.
and you can see there's a green check which says 200 OK.
Yeah,
The
which means that it is a success.
when we were running into an issue, it found that it was coming with a response of 400 and it was giving us a
Yes.
cross. So basically, that's how I mean, if let's say if this debug mode was not turned on, then you might have seen that maybe a vague response, something like an error occurred or something like that. But at least because of that, we were able to, because of this mode turned on, we were able to figure out what the URL was. We immediately opened it on the browser and we could even see what the response was. So we understood, okay, it's not our agent which has an issue, but it's the connected service.
Yes.
So it's pretty handy. Yeah.
So now that we've covered the declarative agent, let's move on quickly to the last one, which is the custom engine agent. this is where things start getting even more complex. So we started off, just to reiterate, we started off with SharePoint agents, which was just basically trying to the simplest form of creating an agent, where you just point it to a document repository within a site and say, create an agent for me. Then we moved into declarative agents, where we had the studio agent builder that was available within Teams, so Copilot chat that we could use to create an agent, followed by a Copilot Studio option, which is like a low code, no code option, where you can again create your agent. And then if you want more control using a pro code approach, you could use the declarative agent using Visual Studio Code and the Teams toolkit as well. Now, all of these options that we talked about till now have been
Was
using the orchestrator and the LLM capabilities of Microsoft 365 Copilot. But if you have certain scenarios where you want to use your own orchestrator, or you want to use your own language model, is where you would look for the custom agent approach to creating your agents.
Yeah,
So
so I think it's safe to say, like, the moment you want to expand more and more functionality, like, you are actually going out of the box, out of the entire Copilot box. And that's why,
yes,
I mean, because we are bringing our own orchestrator, our own LLM. I think if I have to say, when we say like our own LLMs or something like that, in simpler terms, you want, I think, for legal or something, or you have your own models which can recognize images or something like that, or anything. I mean, you trained your models, you trained your LLM based on those models, and I think when you want to bring any of those things, that's where custom agents come into picture.
yeah, where you have use cases that are
Hmm.
focusing on information that is proprietary, that you have for which you have trained your own language models,
Yeah.
right? So that's where you would build a custom agent.
Or maybe, you are running your own LLM. I mean, it doesn't matter. You just want to use your own LLMs. So even that's for that also you need to use custom agents.
Yeah. So how can we build these agents? So we have two options today. So using either the Copilot Studio, which is using the low code, no code approach,
Yeah.
where you can create your own standalone agent that's got generative AI capabilities, or you could use Visual Studio Code. So here, you could either use the Teams AI library, which is basically based on the bot framework, or
Yeah.
the option in the Teams toolkit. If you recollect, when I showed creating a declarative agent, it also had an option there saying create a custom engine agent. So that's also an option. Or you could actually use the Microsoft 365 Agents SDK, which basically provides all the scaffolding that is required, and easy integration to maybe a semantic kernel for your orchestrator needs, or even Azure AI Foundry if you want to point to some specific LLMs, etc.
Yes.
Now, big difference between custom engine agents and the declarative agents is that you can run these agents on across multiple channels. So not only restricted to Teams and Microsoft 365 Copilot, you could have it run on other external or internal channels as well.
Yeah. So like,
But
so for example, you have built it and you want to run it on maybe Messenger, Telegram, or whatever it is. I mean,
yeah,
it's up to you.
Facebook, wherever you want it,
Um,
yeah, or on your own corporate website, etc.
yeah.
So these are individually, as topics are large enough. So I believe we should be covering these as separate snackable videos. So
Yeah.
let's get into the details, explaining how we can build an agent using each of these options in the future videos in this series. Yeah.
Yep.
Um, Let me quickly move on to the next slide here. Key question: when to use which one?
Yeah. I think
So
that's the key question that arises everywhere, right?
yeah,
Everybody has the same question. When should I use what? I mean, you have
when
so
should I
many
use
options.
a declarative agent over a custom engine agent? Yeah. So I guess this is a very good way of depicting to be able to take decisions on what approach to take. It's available on our Learn site as well. I've just picked it up from there. I've shared the link at the bottom for everyone to refer to. So I think the basic yardstick is very simple. Does this agent need a custom AI model or an orchestrator? If the answer is no, then it means that okay, you are still looking at building a declarative agent. Otherwise, you want a custom engine agent, because that's where you can use your own model, or your orchestrator. Also, if you are looking at integrating into, say, group chats or meetings, etc., that's where you would want to again look at the custom engine option, because within, if you want to go by the declarative agent route, the copilot will be available only within your copilot view, so as in you get access to it, not within the team's uh, meetings, or group chats, etc. And lastly, if you want the agent to be able to send proactive or synchronous messages, so again, that is, if the answer for that is a no, you can go ahead with the declarative agent approach. But yes, if you believe no, you want to be able to send those messages across different channels, trigger actions automatically, etc., then you would want to consider building, basically using the custom engine agent approach.
I think it basically, I mean, we have got various types of stuff like, I mean, use cases, your, I mean, messaging, and all of these platforms. If we consider a lot of these things, it can actually help you decide easily. You need to actually break down what your requirements is properly. Then you'll be able to figure out whether building with a declarative agent route is better or with Copilot. I mean, with the custom engine route, right?
Yes, yes. But I would recommend starting off building declarative agents, as in identify those use cases that extend the capability of your Microsoft 365 Copilot. And then, it's like a maturity curve thing, like you start, then look at more complex use cases where you can build using the agents using the custom engine approach.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was discussing this with you, Bharat, right? I mean, let's say, for example, when we are traveling and I mean, for business travel, we have expenses and all. And if I want to build an agent which will be able to, I'm actually clicking the pictures of my invoices and sending it across to the agent to create some report, validate it, or something like that. I can use a custom vision engine, I mean, an LLM, which basically is trained on these things, and it can actually scan and do those things. So obviously, I mean, yes, Copilot is also running GPT-4o. It can identify, but might not be as much as the custom one, which is already trained with, identifying these images and
Fine
columns.
tuned. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The keyword is fine tuned. So it's fine tuned to those types of data and information so that it can extract properly. And obviously, because it's a different LLM, it's going to run on its own orchestration and it's separate things. So that's why like, if I have to look at these type of scenarios, it goes ahead into the curve of custom engine agent.
Cool. I hope you found this video or the session useful.
Yeah.
Please, look forward. There will be more such videos coming up. We will be publishing some more of on each of these topics that we talked about in detail, building an agent using each of these approaches, so that you also get a better idea on how to go about building these agents. And yes, now we already, as we build more and more agents, we will also get a good impression on when to use which one.
Yeah, and I mean, this whole idea behind these snackable videos is that we want to be as much technical as possible. So, I mean, even if you have
Every video will have a hands-on session that's going on where we
definitely,
will be building agents. Yeah.
definitely, and if you have any questions, make sure that reach out to us. So,
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you
thank
all.
you.